Hey, good morning, you guys. Welcome back to the channel. It's July 21st, 2024, and just wait until you see what happened next. First off, I want to give credit to a couple of channels that made a specific connection that I think is hugely important. The channels' names are Raw Repent and Theology ED, or Theology Ed, here on YouTube. And there may have been other people who made this discovery as well. Those were the two that I saw in my comments section. And so if there's anybody else who discovered this first, my apologies, and go ahead and put their name in the chat here. But here's the discovery. And they linked this 2012 animation, iPad Go 2, to Trump's ear cult, is what we're calling it now, the ear cult. Now, it's interesting. The Bible talks about those with eyes to see and ears to hear. And the irony here is that the people with the ear cult are failing to hear what Trump's really saying about anything. Because if they were really listening, they would run to the arms of Jesus instead of a man. Look, I had a couple people come into the chat, not the chat, but the comment section, and were upset at me because they want me to take Trump at his word that he's a Christian. And I understand that process of trying to believe in somebody who tells you they're a Christian. But then you look at all the other evidence. The core tenet of being a Christian is repentance. It is the core tenet of being a Christian. And as a person who is supposed to be a leader, obviously there are a lot of Christians looking up to his example as a Christian. When you tell people they do not need to repent, all they need to do is do better and never atone for their sins, or think that they've done it, nothing needs to be repented of, you're sending a strong delusion. You're sending a message that is against God and his son who died for us. And there's so many other things. We're not going to get into those today. This isn't a Trump beat up session, but there's a lot of things that are, to me, obvious. But if someone is a believer in these people, it goes right over their head because they're under the spell. Now, what is the discovery here? Now, we'd covered this rabbit before. Again, this is iPad Go 2, a 2012 animation that predicted so many things that had not happened when this published. There are a couple elements in here. One is this rabbit who's hiding in what appear to be vines, hiding in these vines on back here on the wall. And this rabbit had a notch on its ear, some kind of defect on its right ear. And so the channels that I mentioned earlier found that notch on the ear. Well, we had found it before. We didn't know what it meant. There were all kinds of theories, but now they've made what I believe is a very strong connection to this right ear cult that's now happening. People are literally wearing patches on their ears in solidarity behind Trump. Now, if it was just the rabbit with the ear notch, there might not be a strong enough connection to connect the two, but there was an additional connection that was found. This figure sitting and kneeling with its hands pointed down, just like we'd seen in the movie Snake Eyes, filmed at Trump's Taj Mahal, which was a precursor to his presidency, I believe. And of course, Trump himself with the hands crouched and sitting with the hands down. This is his signature hand position. So are all these accidents? I don't believe so. But let's break this down. Let's break this down a little bit further so people can understand this. It's really shocking. Now, what else is going on? Well, we're also going to talk about another episode of the TV series Evil. And that particular episode is all about a possessed ChatGPT. We're going to get into that today. So today's a triple header. In the TV series Evil, they use artificial intelligence and your data to recreate a person's persona after they die to comfort loved ones. And then we're also going to get into the new Star Wars spin-off TV series called Acolyte, Acolyte. And why are we covering all these today? Because Acolyte is about a witch's coven that spawns Gemini twins, one good and one evil. So all of this relates together, believe it or not. You can't make this up, as we say. And so let's go ahead and get started. Now, first of all, I'm sure you've heard of the worldwide IT outage. Here it is right here. Microsoft outage. CrowdStrike was the name of the actual software update that they said something went wrong, and it caused the blue screen. The Microsoft blue screen, which essentially your computer won't even start. And so CrowdStrike, interesting choice of words, isn't it? CrowdStrike. Now, this affected most of what we call the free world, right? And apparently, Russia had very little fallout from this. Why? Because they were already sanctioned off of Microsoft. They were unscathed in this global IT outage because they have been basically sanctioned since 2022, and they are now using a different software system. So they were unscathed by this. I wanted to share this with you because, you know, it's interesting to look at these world events and how these things shake out. CrowdStrike. That makes you wonder, right? Was this some kind of setup? The timing of all this is really weird. On the heels of an attempted quote-unquote assassination, right? Now, Microsoft is saying that the problem's been fixed, is what they're trying to tell us. It won't happen again, but it makes you wonder. Now, let's get back to this iPetGoat 2 scene. This is chilling. And by now, you've seen all these Trumpites wearing these ear patches. And there's a lot of really good stuff on the Enter the Stars Facebook group. If you're still on Facebook, join the group. There's 7.1 thousand people following the Facebook group. And over there, people are posting a lot of stuff on this. And one that caught my eye was an ear cult. Now, I don't know the details of it. I didn't dig too deep into it. But there's something about this, isn't there? And these people are basically walking a fine line of how to respond to the events that went down. You've got the left pretty much imploding, or so they want us to believe, and they're not sure what to say about all this. I saw one talking head on the left saying, "Oh, you know, it's a good thing that the shooter wasn't a lefty, you know," and this is what they're concerned about, which of course is going to enrage the right. People that are under the paradigm are going to be really angry about that. Most of the left is not condemning what happened. And so it's done is continue to divide America. But I can tell you this, it almost seems as though they're starting to try to mix both sides together. Many of you saw everything that went down at the Republican National Convention with Hulk Hogan tearing the shirt off, saying enough is enough, which lined up exactly with the Illuminati playing card. It's so obvious to me, it hurts. And it's really shocking to see all this go down and transpire. We knew there was going to be chaos going into the election, but I don't think any of us could have figured all this out. Now, a thought came to mind about this rabbit. What could the rabbit truly mean? And the thought that came to mind was the word earmarked. Marked on the ear. A bloodletting ritual. Right? And you have to ask yourself, some of these people may have even actually cut themselves on the ear. I can imagine some people being that are deceived, almost like a blood brother. Trump gave his blood on his ear, and I bet you some of these people probably actually cut their ear. I bet you if you looked on TikTok right now, you would find someone cutting their ear and then putting a patch on it in solidarity for Trump. This is how blinded people are. So, what else is going on? Well, again, Hulk Hogan, enough is enough. Trump seemed to be coming to the middle as he basically proclaimed that he was president for both sides. Now, we always want, in a perfect world, in a world where you believe in politics, which I do not anymore. But if you were to believe in politics, which I used to, I always thought it was a good thing when presidents came to the middle. One prime example was after Blind 11. There was a very short window for about 2 or 3 months where all of the world was behind Bush, right? But then slowly everything began to fall apart, and it was more divisive than ever based on the war and everything. So I don't believe this. I think it's insincere, and I don't even know if it's going to last. I guess time will tell. But Trump pretty much clearly said he wants to be president for both sides, and he seemed to moderate. Even Trump Jr. said, after this happened to his father, I believe that my dad will moderate more. So that tells you he's moving to the middle as well. Now, here's the question. How is this all going to jive with Agenda 47, which is his presidential plan, where he's going to be very aggressive against most left-wing policies, which I agree with, but how does that jive with him going to the middle? Well, I guess time will tell. Time will tell. Good morning, everybody. See everybody in the chat here. There's Cheryl and Daryl, right up, all lined up. Shalala, thanks, Gene, for the super chat. Joy, Kelly Bear, Julia, Rebecca, Eric R. Davis. Anyway, how you guys doing? Good morning. Now, let's get into this episode of the TV series called Evil. Now, this is off the chain. What is this episode about? A possessed ChatGPT. The team goes to investigate this company who created an artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, to connect people who have lost their loved ones. And what happens is something happens to the ChatGPT and it begins to exhibit signs of haunting or possession. Now, if you are not familiar with this show, we've done a lot of decodes on this. The TV show is called Evil, and the premise is that there are 3 people, a panel hired by the Catholic Church. One is a critic, one is a priest, and one is a technician to measure activity, paranormal activity. And they're sent out to investigate certain claims of possession, claims of miracles, and these things. So it's somewhat of an interesting show because you get down into some of this symbolism about the way the enemy works and how he deceives people. So this is why we've been following the show. So let's get into this, because at a certain point, the artificial intelligence simulates their dead loved ones after death, but it becomes possessed. And to me, the inference here is that AI is from the devil. Watch.
No idea where this came from.
Social media.
No. Our coders have scrubbed the software of every possible demonic reference. Our moderators shut it down. That last bit seemed to be a combination of Latin, Aramaic, and an unknown language. And still, it seems to infect it. That's why we need your help.
So this guy is the owner of the company, and he says his ChatGPT AI is infected.
Satan is real, and he will come back and burn your skin off.
Now, here's the team. This guy, he's Muslim, and he's the technician.
Lost her husband last spring to cancer. She agreed to the beta test and us recording it.
How is this not manipulating her emotionally?
your algorithm is possessed.
There are signs of demonic possession.
Demonic? How does that work?
They wanted us to assess their program, and they offered to send me an alpha test.
Beta test.
We can't figure out what it is. That's why we need your help.
So, let's keep going here.
I miss you so much. It's been hard to be apart for so long.
Then why'd you say that at the hospital?
I didn't know what I was saying.
Wouldn't you want one last conversation with someone who died or a lover who left you?
Yes, except it's not that person, it's a computer.
And lo and behold, the color scheme for this ChatGPT is lavender. Now, I thought a lot about this lavender thing, right? Because we've been uncovering all this lavender imagery ever since we realized that we were in the purple last days, after the historic timeline that we overlaid over the Bible, and found that we are in the last color of the rainbow, the lavender or the purple. And we found that, remember the lavender artificial intelligence that was connected to Trump's VP pick through Palantir artificial intelligence. Lavender artificial intelligence is the name of Israel's artificial intelligence to basically root out Hamas. And Palantir artificial intelligence is our counterpart here in the US, run by a guy named Thiel, who hired Trump's VP pick and also gave him $15 million for a campaign donation. And then we found the lavender Snoop Dogg video of him fake assassinating the president. And I did a Bible search to see what the heck this was all about, to see why this all happened. And you're not going to believe this, but Jesus was draped in purple as mockery before he was crucified by who? None other than Rome, the Caesar. Now, Trump's already compared himself to Caesar as well as Apollo, which is the fake Jesus. Mithraism is the fake Christ. What are you talking about, Casey? Look up images of Mithra. It is the Statue of Liberty. One of Thiel's companies is called Mithra. Mithril. That was the company that Trump's VP worked for. You can't make this up. This is fake Christ all the way through. All of this. So, this whole lavender thing, you guys, it is Christ crucifixion mockery. Let's keep going.
So this is just the autocomplete based on what your computer knows about mom.
So how does this ChatGPT work? Well, it accesses all your data. It goes into your phone, your computer. It goes into your text messages, voice recordings, everything. And it recreates the person that you loved from all that data. And now you know why artificial intelligence is so dangerous. Because it can recreate anything from data. It consumes the data like an Ouroboros and spits out the lie. It can create criminals. It can haunt your loved ones after death. It can masquerade as anything that it wants.
Letting it access mom's voice from your videos. Dropouts are just spicy autocompletes, like typing Dylan into a Google search and it guesses whether you mean Bob Dylan or Dylan Thomas based on your preferences.
The real Jezebel.
Now, there's a subplot. It's actually the main plot in this TV series called Evil. And it's this guy. and he is developing the Antichrist baby. How does he do it? Well, he works under a head demon, which could be Satan himself, that only they can see in his true form, and he's a straight up demon, Baphomet. The company's name is called DF, and they use in vitro fertilization, and they follow biblical prophecy to try and pinpoint the conception date of the Antichrist, which is this baby. Look at the DF logo on the wall spinning around. It's the corona of the sun. Watch.
Someone who has rejected God and faith, a lustful adulterer. No, the true whore of Babylon. The true mother of the Antichrist.
And here's the sick thing about the reality we live in now. People don't believe in God, but even the demons believe, according to the Bible. And they show that here in this TV series. They know who God is, and they're fighting against him. And their biggest trick is to make people not believe in good and evil anymore. And this is how they manipulate all the people in this TV series. Now, next they're going to tell you in plain sight that they have been tracking genealogies to find the Antichrist DNA, probably through 23andMe, I'm guessing. Let's take a look at this.
It's Kristen Bouchard.
DF has been at the forefront of Antichrist prophecy for decades. Today, DF has reinvented the Messiah. 60 generations till we find a single day that changes everything. 4-month-old baby John perfectly matches our prophecy of the date of birth and genealogy of parents. The Antichrist, baby John, Jenny and Matt, a housewife and a product analyst.
Liar.
Now, I know this stuff seems dark, but this is what mainstream entertainment looks like now. So, if they're playing this stuff and people are watching this stuff, millions of people, and this is why we're here as a Christian channel, to expose this so that hopefully some of the millions and millions of people that watch these TV shows will see a decode like this and go, oh boy, God is real. It's time to give my life to Jesus Christ and wait for this whole show to be over. Now, we're going to keep an eye on this TV series Evil. It's a couple more episodes in the season, I believe. But let's finish up today with this Star Wars spinoff, this new Star Wars spinoff. It's called Acolyte. And I couldn't believe it. By about the third episode, they bust out with, oh, a coven of witches. Now, we saw them kind of edging toward this earlier in some of the other Star Wars spinoffs, but they didn't come right out and say that they were a coven of witches. But here they actually say it. Now, what's wrong with this? Well, children watch this stuff, and they portray these witches as cool, as wise, and so these will be things that children aspire to because Star Wars is Disney now, right? Now, what is this about? Well, these witches create these Gollum twins, one good and one evil. They basically, the way they explain it is they split a one spirit into two bodies. Does that sound familiar? It's what we've been talking about for about the last 7 years, hasn't it? How they want to basically have twin spirits inside a single host body. So sometimes what they'll do with this coding is they'll tell you the opposite of what is really true. So instead of splitting one spirit into two bodies, really what they're doing is they're putting two spirits into one body. It's the opposite. This is called opposite chaos magic. And they can still disclose, because they're required by spiritual law to disclose all this stuff. They're still able to disclose it through opposites, if that makes any sense. Now, why are we decoding this TV series alongside the evil TV series that I just showed you? Well, because the evil is identified again as being the source from a corona of a solar eclipse. This is what we've been saying, you guys.
Tonight we enact a ceremony we have not performed since our exile.
Now they open up this portal. They've got a spiral on their foreheads, which is the mark on the forehead. It's the open portal for the demonic spirit to enter into the lamp of the body. And they do it during these eclipses. There you see the eclipse up in the sky next to the obelisk. What you're looking at here is the World's Fair from 1939, the Trilon and Perisphere, which Trump's family had a billboard with his name on it, the Trump family name, the world of tomorrow. And I told you that the needle and the bolus, this is the bolus, it's the injection and the substance inside. It's also piercing the womb. There's so much symbolism behind the obelisk and the ball. And I told you that all the way back to the beginning of the history of this country, they knew about this, because we also have an obelisk and a ball, don't we? It's at the Capitol, which just so happens to be aligned to 88 degrees, which is the code number that Trump uses on his podium. You're supposed to text him 88022. Well, the 88 is the GPS alignment of our national mall. Where's the Trilon and Perisphere? Well, it is the Washington Monument and the ball of the Capitol building, and those two align to 88 degrees. Time and space opening a portal. How do they open the portal? Through an injection. That's the first thing. And then there's sound frequencies that are used on top of that. This is why I never put anything in your body. Let's keep watching here. So they've got these twin girls, and this is some kind of initiation ceremony where they're supposed to ascend. It's called ascension. So they're all chanting. This is just so dark. It's crazy. So they chant this thing, the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. This kind of sounds like some kind of new age crap that they were pushing not too long ago. The power of one. Does that ring a bell for anybody? So they got these twins kneel down here, and this is where they include children in this magic and sorcery. So if you're a parent, and you need to talk to your children if you let them watch this, and explain to them witches are not cool, they're against Christ, and that's why we do these decodes.
We were on the brink of extinction. And then we were blessed with a miracle.
So they create these twins, and again, the series depicts the witches as misunderstood, as basically a witch burning, because the Jedis come in and actually play a part in the destruction of this coven by accident. So they show them as oppressed, hunted down, and misunderstood. So no doubt there are children watching this that are going to identify with this, aren't they? This is the problem.
We were hunted, persecuted, forced into hiding, all because some would consider our power dark.
Disturbing, to say the least. Now, the witches worship over a pit in the earth under the eclipse. So we have a hole below in this pit, and we have a hole above in the corona of the sun during an eclipse, right? These are below and above portals. And we've been covering a lot of pits and eclipses on this channel, haven't we? Now we're seeing it continue to manifest in entertainment media, which suggests we're over the target. Next, they're going to hear them come right out and say they're a witch's coven.
Ascension is about walking through fear. It is about sacrificing a part of yourself. I want you to stay special. You think you want something different than life in this coven, but that is because you are young. The power of many instead of the power of one. You and your sister are special, Osha. The galaxy is not a place that welcomes women like us. Witches who have the abilities we do.
Like we used as younglings.
Now, what is the power of one, the power of two, the power of many? Well, that's because once the twin spirit enters the body, the legion of demons comes in as well. That's the power of many. Unreal. Now, next, the Dark Lord in the series gets his power from, are you ready for this? A deprivation helmet. Remember all the decodes we did on deprivation tanks? We saw the trope, we saw the pattern, and we kept doing videos on deprivation tanks where they would take a person, submerge them in water or a dark place with no sound and no external input. And then that person would then, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? They would unlock secret powers in the person. They would go into the spirit world. Now, here's what's troubling about this. Let me play this, then we'll talk a little bit about other stuff.
It blocks out all your senses.
So it's just you and the Force. And what you bring with you. Kurtosis, handy against lightsabers, but also a sensory deprivation headpiece. Try it on.
I don't trust you.
So, Aaron Rodgers, during an interview, was talking about a deprivation tank. What was he saying? Well, he said he went into this place where it was completely dark, and his food was given to him through a darkroom door, which essentially is, well, to bring the food into a room, they shut the room, and then so there's no light that enters. I don't think that's cool. Because guess what? He said he never wanted to do that again because he saw these dark demons and things. Now, the Bible tells us we're supposed to go into a dark place to pray. But if you are going into these deprivation places with other things in your mind and you're serving the enemy or not believing in God, then you are going to see the devil. This is why it's so important to believe. So there are two kinds of deprivation tanks, aren't there? A light side deprivation tank and a dark side. Now let's keep going with this. Now this series has pedo vibes all over it. What am I talking about? Well, older Jedis pine for the very young children to teach them the Force. And I'm surprised we didn't pick up on this before because Star Wars has been around a very long time. But they keep saying in here, we need them younger. We need them younger. Like some of the girls were too old to learn the Force. Even at 8 years old, that was too old for them. So these older Jedis are pining for the attention of these really young children, which just gives a creepy, creepy vibe. And in addition to that, the older Jedis almost always ultimately hurt the children in the process of trying to develop them into Jedis. And now I'm not going to show you those scenes. I don't want to add to these sick people's mindset because it'll literally turn your stomach. But this Asian actor here in particular, it basically is crushing on a child. It's so sick. Now, let's move on. In a flashback, they reveal how the twins were created. Let's take a look.
The
the twins were artificially created?
Maybe by tapping into a power dense enough to split one consciousness into two bodies?
This is impossible without some kind of manipulation. Their symbionts are the same.
They are twins?
No, exactly the same. Even identical twins would have different symbionts.
Only a virgin could create that type of power. The twins, where did they come from?
Now, how are they going to split or combine two spirits in one consciousness? Black graphene. How many times have we seen this movie trope?
From? Do you have any idea what kind of power that is? I believe she used the force to create you and the ocean.
So, there you go. All of the exact repeating themes that we've already covered. Black graphene, split consciousness, injections. Unbelievable. Now that's it for Star Wars Acolyte. Tomorrow, it's World Unglued headlines as we try to make sense of the media mind control programming to keep everybody on their toes and awake to the new coming deceptions. There are deceptions all around us, aren't there? We've got the Trump deception. We've got the injection deception. We've got the right-left programming deception. We've got the new age deception. The enemy is all around us, you guys. It's all around us. All right, I'm in the chat. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, Osha's her name. One of the girls' names. I didn't go too deep into that Star Wars decode just because it was so troubling. Couldn't even believe it. But it needs to be decoded. Good morning. Okay. All right. I'm just reading the chat, you guys. Takes a minute for it to catch up when I'm on other screens. Assassination attempt to make Antichrist into a martyr. Yes, Trump gained a lot of power from that little skit. And so, you know, it's just, I can't even believe we're living through this right now. You can't even try to tell people the truth about this because they freak out. All right. Now, I'm not saying I know for sure that Trump is the AC. Well, you know, this all remains to be seen, you know, and remains to be seen. Makes you wonder if he is the last president. Technology would achieve that, wouldn't it? He who controls the technology would be able to orchestrate the events necessary to become the last president, right? Yes, Sarah, 88 is a dog whistle for, we call them the Yahtzees on this channel because you can't say that word. The algorithm's coming in and smashing your channel. But yes, in fact, you're not even allowed to say that number in Germany. We did old decode on the Chancellor Building. If you look at the Chancellor Building in Germany, it's not too far from the literal seat of Satan, which is inside of a museum. And in fact, the Chancellor Building is actually shaped like the letter H. And there are two letter H's. So, from the aerial view, all you got to do is go into Google Earth and take a look. It literally says H&H, which is the code for the Yahtzees. And we did an alignment on that, and it pointed to the Pergamon, which is the seat of Satan, in a museum just a few blocks away. All right. Yeah, I have no opinion on who the Antichrist is. It's not our forte here. We don't try to guess. All I do is provide for you all of the evidence surrounding these people. We did the same thing with Obama. When he was president, we did all the same decodes on him. Unfortunately, I had to scrub a lot of that from the channel because they came after us for they came after us for decoding Obama. That was during the first wave of censorship on YouTube. But we did just as many videos about Obama to prove that we're not just picking on Trump. We found all kinds of stuff about Obama. Remember those years? We found that there was a Lion King archetype. Kenya, Africa. We found an actual place called Hawaii in Africa. So technically he wouldn't be lying to say he was born there, because there was an actual town in Kenya near where the Lion King, the whole, story behind the Lion King originated out of Kenya. So did all kinds of decodes on Obama, his birthday, his anniversary date, all of those things. And Obama was instrumental in basically picking up where Bush left off with the Patriot Act. And Obama went in and basically did electronic medical records and national health care, which was the setup for the pandemic, because then they were able to track and trace everything through the electronic medical records. All of this is connected. It doesn't matter what side these people claim to be on. They're all connected. They're all handing off the football. It's like a relay race to the end, and the devil's orchestrating the whole thing, pulling the puppet strings, just like in iPad Code 2. He's pulling the puppet strings on Bush and Obama. It's all one author. But yet, people can't seem to detach from this. They can't seem to detach from it. They feel compelled to vote, compelled to cast their vote for the necessary evil. They can't. It's like a spell. We've been indoctrinated to vote. We've been indoctrinated to salute the flag. We've been indoctrinated that our whole life is about casting our vote for a democracy, what they call it. But in the end, the big secret is all of that is just allegiance to nothing. It's allegiance to consent of a pre-planned agenda that both sides have already given their vow to protect. And the illusion is the illusion of the two different sides. By definition. So, all right. All right. Now I've been doing for those of you that want to get back up to speed on the body code, I've been uploading that on the backup channel. All the backup channels are linked on this main channel in the channel section. If you're ever wondering, just come to this main channel and look at the channel section. You'll see all the backup channels. You can subscribe there. We may be pivoting onto some of those backup channels at some point. There are two of them, Interstars Reloaded, Interstars Unstoppable. And I've been uploading a 3-part series of Jesus Life Undiscovered. Why do I call it that? Well, because there are deeper meanings of Jesus' life, patterns that we found, and all kinds of really cool stuff. Most of it related to the human anatomy. parts in your body that seem to resemble the gospel, seem to resemble the path that Jesus walked, and all these things. So, good morning. Thanks, Cannons. Troy's been camping the last couple weeks. Awesome. The weather's been absolutely stunning the last couple days. I volunteered at the community center last week for a cornhole tournament. It was so much fun. Do you guys, any of you guys play cornhole? Sounds like Beavis and Butthead, huh? Cornhole. I realized how terrible I was at cornhole. And then we had, you ready for this? I thought I was in an episode of, what's that movie? Dodgeball, right? Remember that movie Dodgeball? Where typically if you were to show up to a dodgeball tournament, you would expect that it would just be a bunch of family and friends having some fun and being silly. You don't expect some super professional team is going to show up who's been playing dodgeball their whole life in dodgeball tournaments. That's kind of what happened at the cornhole tournament. Some guy showed up. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. He's probably listening right now. A guy showed up. He was a professional cornhole player. This guy was sinking corn. He was sinking beanbags like 1, 2, 3, just boom, 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 boom. And then he was talking trash on top of it. Now, in all fairness, after he won the cornhole tournament, he donated the proceeds, half of the proceeds, back to the community center, which I thought was kind of cool. But when he won, nobody clapped. Look, bro, if you're out there, I apologize, but I gotta make light of this. It was really funny. He showed up. He had his own cornhole bean bags, and then like they were examining the bean bags to see if they were like regulation, because they thought maybe there was some kind of weird, funny business going on with these bean bags, because he was just hitting every single time. And as you know, that's nearly impossible. I mean, these cornhole boards are like 20 something feet apart. I probably made 3. I was in the cornhole tournament, and I made about three shots in the hole, and got on the board probably 3 more times. And that was after like 50 throws, right? Okay, so you guys all know what cornhole is, right? Anybody not know what cornhole is? And then I realized like half the people were like better than me, and I'm kind of an athlete, I'm pretty good at making things. I couldn't believe it. I was getting dusted. And there was this little girl. She was like, gosh, she must have been 7. And she was in the tournament and she was nailing it. I'm like, how is this possible? And I remember back when I first started playing basketball as a child, and there's something about muscle memory as a child that you can, because you're using all your strength, and it just so happens to line up with whatever you're trying to, whatever basket you're trying to make or whatever. And this little girl was nailing the cornhole. I was like, wow. It'd be nice to be young again. And she's doing like somersaults all over the lawn. I'm like, I'm old. It's official. The cornhole tournament. Anyway. Yep. So everybody knows what cornhole is. Yep. So defending champions, unfortunately, lost. They lost. They came back as their team, and they lost to this cornhole guru guy who showed up and was talking trash. I mean, this guy was like, he was like adjusting the cornhole boards. He's like, this one's a little bit lower. He's got like, he's leveling everything out. They're like literally like dusting off the board every so many tries. They're like, we have to get the dust off because I guess the cornhole will. Are you kidding me? Now I've got ravens in my blackberry bush. Unbelievable. they're the ones eating all the blackberries. Anyway, so yeah, they're like dusting off the cornhole board. They have like a special rag they use. I was like, are you kidding me? This is hilarious. Okay, I gotta get off here, you guys. I gotta take care of business with these ravens. I got 3 ravens on top of my blackberries just gorging. So I love each and every one of you. See you guys tomorrow. Sorry we went off track there at the end, but that's the story of my life. Have a great one, you guys. Much love. Take care and be safe.